Good evening, everyone. This is February 2nd, 2025. And this was kind of a last minute pop-up announcement to both those that are subscribed to my newsletter and those that are in the Facebook group of um, Applied Universal Alchemy, and was an invitation to others if they wanted to come because this has been, I think it said the other day, someone said a month, a year and a month, or 5 years in a month. And this week has been like 5 months in one week. So much has happened. And so many people are reeling from what they know, what they don't know, um, personally, how it's triggering everyone and catalyzing everyone, which is on the one hand fabulous, but on the other hand, we are actually on the brink at this moment. And I think more people are aware of that at this point. Um, our way forward and into the future is with a cooperative, collaborative, communicative, connected, communing with one another in our towns, in our states, in our countries, in the world. And the division and the um, for me only, and the kind of claw your way to the top, stepping on everyone and anything in your way. Um, Sorry, just turning down the sound back here a little bit, is just out of date anymore. It is happening, and one of the bulwarks that held not only history from repeating itself, but also um, I'm not going to pull any punches anymore. There are dark forces. There always have been dark forces. They have manipulated and used, and I'm talking about dark forces off the planet that are active through groups, through individuals on our planet. And if you completely destroy democracy, you seemingly destroy the people. That has always been the way in the past. You can take people's freedoms, take people's lives, take people's food, and there wasn't much that they could do about it. Um, we're talking about kings and nobles and emperors and popes and conquerors. That the people didn't have any rights. They didn't have any way to fight back. And so um, there were other times in history, the Magna Carta, there's certain things that led to our level of freedom in this country. And that's why so many people have wanted to come. Um, that we have had protected freedoms. And if those are removed, then we are in a free fall. And so this is not about politics. And people may misunderstand that when they hear me speak or see my posts. This is a process of evolution. We are in a fundamental battle over dark and light, good and evil. Um, my way of seeing it, explaining it, is the old over the new, the devolution or evolution of this species. And it is species wide because this is worldwide. And one of the cornerstones holding in place the ability for the masses, the people, is our example, is our model of democracy. And again, you get control of enough democracies where the people are constantly having to go back to the old way of just survival for food and shelter, etc., then there isn't much time for anything else. Um, But I believe that people are, first of all, that it's not going to happen as it has in history because there is access to information. Now, do very few companies control and own the media and many of the towers for and the other means of communication? Yes. Um, is that is there a concerted effort to control them? Yes. We're seeing, I'm sure you've seen on the news or somewhere, hopefully, have seen that a huge ship was just seized in the Baltic by, I believe it was Denmark, because this ship, Russian ship, was cutting communication cables underneath the sea. This is no joke, guys. We are in it. And while I'm not saying to take up arms, what I am saying is that your personal history dovetails with exactly what's going on today. And the more deeply you can transmute or even transfigure those patterns within you, then we are able to turn this back around. As we have in our lives, when clients go into those depths and they change those patterns so deeply, they just do not appear in their lives in a endangering way or in a threatening way at all. They are literally no longer within their system. Are they still, my clients still doing an expertise with those particular pieces for the rest of their lives? Yes, but that's different. Now we're cutting facets in a diamond versus having an excruciating, um, open, sore, pus-filled wound. And that's what most of us are walking around with. We have put them very deeply within our bodies, which is why oftentimes doing movement or massage therapy or other forms of accessing the tissues and systems of the body will bring those emotions forward. The challenge, of course, is to get past that defense system. And that's why when working with clients, it is a process. It is a learning process of how to identify and see what that defense system is doing in any given second, because it is beyond measurably fast, more so than lightning, more so than almost the speed of light. Um, and if you've done any of work with me, you know that that's the case. So we're seeing history. It's funny, you know, like I've always loved history. I took many, many courses in history. It was very much required in my education growing up, along with world history, Western civilization, and that was just to get into University of California. The requirements were insanely strict. And then on in college, one of my loves, because it, again, another one that dovetails with sociology and psychology, which were my focus. So we are at a crossroads right now, and there is not any room for no movement. We have to individually and collectively move. And that's really, really hard when there's things flying at you all the time. The tendency is to, um, you know, protect or duck or go inside or hide, you know, and shut the doors. But you're here at this point in time for a specific purpose, both your own individual soul purpose and to contribute to this larger evolutionary process. And I think it's really, really important that we do keep referencing history. And it wasn't something that I had certainly focused on. Certainly with clients, I will take that back. With clients, we're always focusing on history and how one's individual history, one's lineage history, one's cultural history, the human species history is affected by the transmutation and transfiguration of an individual client's particular issue or wounding that's showing up in that moment and also being replicated on the national or world stage. For there is no difference. Whatever is going on out there, there is a thread of that that you have experienced within your own childhood years. And then it became a pattern and it stayed there and it determined who you are, how you interact with the world, how you perceive the world, and how you feel the world treating or reacting or acting towards you. So history is vital, and it's just really fascinating that as of about a week, I think 10 days ago, I came across or was led to, I don't remember how I came to her, but her name is Dr. Heather Cox Richardson. And she is a political history professor um, and continues to teach. And she's been bringing forward Letters from an American, which is a written daily, weekly. I don't even know how long she's or how frequently she was doing it previously. Now they're coming out pretty much daily and revealing how in history we arrived at this particular point in um, our government, why certain things are in place, why certain laws are in place, what has happened constitutionally throughout time, other presidents or other administrations trying to do certain things, laws then being put in place, etc. And I highly recommend you sign up either for her daily, it's just a rundown of this is what's going on. This is how it pertains to the civics or the structure of our government. This is maybe how she might also relate it to a time in history that is connected to it. Um, it's very, how can I say it? It gives a lot of hope and a lot of insight and a crash course in your own history, your own country's history, at least here in the United States. And as far as that goes, our relationship to different countries around the world. Now, those of you who have ever worked with me or listened to any of these talks and then deep dives, you'll know that for many, many years, I've been seeing, naming, watching, monitoring the dark in all its many forms, whether that's human or otherwise. I've watched the politics around the world, the elections in certain countries being stolen. One of them being Venezuela, which is in the news this week, and the rightfully elected president was he is actually on the run at this point. I believe he's in Spain because Maduro absolutely would not recognize the free elections of the people. He would not let go of control of the government. And that's who is in place right now. And I have no doubt whatsoever that there were hands um, in it. And now he is being pressured because he wasn't making good choices for his country, and his country ran up debt, as is with all corrupt leaders. And so now in a financial pickle, and our administration can strong arm him to force him to sell his oil at whatever price they so choose, or pressure the country to do other things, or to deal with us in trade in a certain way. So I likened this, I don't know, several months ago. I was talking about a video game, but it was also a live game that friends could play together. At the time when I was introduced to it, it was a friend of mine's husband and his group of friends, uh, all male at the time. And it's a game by which there's a blank board and there's resources, and you go about creating your own civilization. There were takeovers, there were marauders that came in and killed and took over that plot of land that had something valuable on it. So this has been going on throughout time. And it was just, again, this history um, on a larger scale. As I said, with clients, that's what we do, is we work with history. And then when those personal human wounds in one's history are transmuted or transfigured, then we're actually able to open portals within the energy field system, which brings through other existences, other dimensions, other lives, other worlds, realms, etc., that the particular person is connected to. And I've spoken about this before in some of my clients and some of their connections to magical realms or future societies or what have you. And so we're talking about a different form of, because there is no linear time outside of this dimension, or certainly not in this form. When we're talking about other existences, we're talking about other time spaces. And when we're talking about magic, for example, or some of the energetics in other worlds, that they don't conform to our linear long, step-by-step process of time. So therefore, things can happen in an instant. We're certainly seeing that over the past 10 weeks, 10 days, 2 weeks, that how fast things can move, how fast things can change. But that's still on a physical basis. When we're talking about other realms and other worlds, then we're talking about magic, like, magic wand, boom, the thing is changed completely. And remember, energy, everything, matter, the planet, everything that is in this universe is energy. It is energy in particular forms, at particular frequencies and vibrations, but it is all energy. And energy simply changes form from one to another. It is not destroyed, it is never eliminated, it actually cannot be created. It's just being juggled back and forth. So when we open those portals to other worlds and realms, the ability to manipulate matter, the ability to change matter from one thing to another, is what is natural to those worlds and realms. So when we have someone who has worked to the root of their particular human issues, which is a theme, a soul theme that they came here to explore, potentially even choosing to complete that particular exploration this lifetime, then they purposefully designed for that particular issue to be connected to another existence, a particular existence. And again, we'd have to get into a whole lot more for me to explain that. But the point is that now those clients have access and are channeling in those abilities, that knowledge, that energetic, not only for creating their own life, but it is then in this huge alchemical mixture, just complex, super sophisticated, beyond what the human mind can comprehend, of threads weaving and interweaving. You may have had experiences of that, whether you would call it synchronicity, or I like to call it the universe's arrangement, when something that you need, want, had thought about, and there it is, whether it's a person or an opportunity or an object. You come across it very quickly. So we have, what is potentially a stopping of the repeated patterns in our history as humans, in our history as civilization around the world, in our history even in this country, in our history, in our own personal lives. As I said, that's how it's connected. There is no difference. So the word, though, the aspect history, I've never seen appear in so many different ways as it has this past week or so. As I said, I came across this political history professor who I've been listening to. It's fascinating and very, very beneficial. I highly recommend. And then, of course, this week was also the commemoration of the Holocaust, and how a country was actually, its democracy was destroyed in 53 days by Hitler. And there's history, there's information, there's articles I'm happy to share. The Atlantic Monthly magazine had a huge article on that, circling around. And again, I'm happy to share. But how are we not falling back into that even now? And that does, in this case, we have access to information. At that point in time, information was much, much more controlled or inaccessible to most people. So information is what's going to potentially save us from going back in history and repeating and being conquered and losing our freedoms and dying huge swaths of people, and then we swing back again. My information and teaching over the past couple decades is that this is the last battle. This is, as I've said many times before, this is for all the marbles. And the game board is this planet. So you are a player, and you have choice, and you have ability, and you have power. And you can do that by being active, by publicly speaking your truths, both, as far as personally and as far as what you believe for your country, your city, your township. And also just presencing yourself, coming out, as they say, completely as who you really are. No more hiding. And again, all part of this process of evolution. And I came across, my one side of my family was, luckily many of them had come over, but what would have been uncles, great aunts, uncles, great uncles, and all of the extended family were completely wiped out, lost entirely. Untraceable even in World War II. So this is a significant commemoration for many people, because it was not only the Jews that were killed, persecuted, imprisoned, used as slave labor, which 30,000 people in Guantanamo Bay, that will be labor, free labor. And also Black people, gays, as they were called in those days, anyone who was disabled, the Roma or Gypsies, all of these people, anyone who was different, who wasn't Aryan, were persecuted and or killed or had to leave in some way. And so that's another huge chunk of history. Are we repeating that right now? And then I came across a video of Greg Braden. If those of you who are familiar with him, I've been studying his work for 23 years, 24 years, maybe longer. And he's just an amazingly brilliant scientist, spiritual example. He blends the two, and I highly recommend. His new book is called Pure Human. And one of the things that he speaks about is not succumbing to different electronic and or artificial substitutes within the body and for our own internal divine and for me, I would say otherworldly abilities and talents and energetics that we can channel in, whether it's creation, whether it's how to heal our own bodies. All of these are right here and accessible for us. And if we start to utilize or depend upon something other than our own bodies, our own energy fields, our own emotions, our own mind, then again, another way to control and or eliminate humans. And I came across the most beautiful post from someone on the commemoration of the Holocaust. She had, fortunately, she wrote out on Facebook this beautiful timeline and history of relatives of hers in World War II or just prior who were sent to concentration camps. Some survived, some did not. But I was just in awe of the ability to be able to track so many and so much and have so much history of her family. So much so that I even commented to her, and she wasn't even. I don't even know how her post came across my desk or across my feed, but we did have a beautiful interchange of back and forth about that and about the repetition of history. And then again came across a Vedic historian. And those of you who are familiar with the Vedas, we're talking about ancient scripts um, that were written thousands of years ago. And this man is just absolutely brilliant. I don't know how many decades he's been studying. He's older. The Hindu tradition and through the Vedas and through other writings. And in those they're talking about time frames that because we are talking about what can be referred to supernatural beings that dictated and then this information was written. And they talk about periods of times called yugas, and those are 14,000 year cycles. We are currently in what is termed the Kali Yuga. And I encourage you, I'll try to find his name and post. It was a program, it was an interview on Gaia. But he is obviously the foremost historian of Vedic history in the world. And it just, such a juxtaposition with what we're going on right now. Our personal history, as I said, both here as humans and in other existences, are evident when you've felt it, not when you kind of vision it or somebody tells you, but when you've experienced being something beyond human. And that's your own personal experience, not because someone is leading you through a meditation where they're telling you this is what's going on, but you yourself are experiencing that, then you know very well how eternal you are. You know that you are so much more than these 80 years here, whatever they are. And so this long stretch of history keeps coming through. The Vedic, as I said, I think the Kali Yuga is, I don't know, already multiple ages in of those 140,000 year cycles. And apparently there are more, which gives me a feeling of hope. And then, strangely enough, once again, I was watching a beautiful documentary on an archaeologist who literally found, oh, I'm going to get teary because Odysseus has always been close to my heart, the Odyssey, the epic poem. And I again stumbled onto this documentary of this beautiful archaeologist who found, and the evidence is beyond belief, um, that this was the tomb of Odysseus. But because of politics and because of world events and another person involved, he, for 30 years, this was not recognized, it was not acknowledged, it was not announced, it was not made known to the public. It is only now, within the past couple years, I think it's been, or maybe less, that finally the minister in charge of all of Greek archaeology, which is massive and has been, and he was the minister for many years, has finally, he was actually on the original dig, he has finally said publicly, firmly, yes, in fact, this is Odysseus's grave and tomb. And so again, we're talking about ancient, ancient, ancient history that many thought was just myth. And again, those of you who have worked with me or come to any workshops or what have you know that I teach and help you have access to the mythological, legendary, story, fantasy realm, whatever it is that you're connected to, it is real. The gods, the mythological gods are real. This is one of the absolute proofs that someone who we believed throughout all of this history was just a story was actually a person, and he did go through not just the challenges in the poem, but when you look at it over a history of people and their challenge, it's quite different. Again, I'll try, the gentleman's name was Makis Metaxa, so I'll try to post that as well somewhere. Um, and please write to me if you're interested. And then that led to me looking something up about specifically. Oh, I was looking up the place in Greece where the tomb is. So of course I'd like to go visit it ASAP. And for some reason, that particular resource cited Herodotus. And Herodotus is considered to be the father of history. So it's just over and over and over again, these beautiful points in history, history itself being so very vital. And from there, I again, kind of at the end of that program, there was another archaeologist, a very short little piece. I think it was only 5 minutes long. And he was speaking about all the different venues in Rome that the Romans would use for entertainment, be it the Colosseum for the chariot races and the gladiator events, and there were many others, and that it was very a different reason prior to that, ancient Greece and throughout the Greek kind of high point, they would have the Olympic Games or tests of strength or festivals honoring the gods, venerating the gods, establishing, firming, and confirming that relationship from the gods or with the gods because they were very alive for people. They and ancestors both were very alive, very much part of their lives, very much being included, spoken to, sought out for guidance, etc. And just it was so apparent this movement from something celebrating the relationship between the gods and men and relationship of the physicality and the mental and the artistic. All of these things were being celebrated, and it went to a very warlike, very debauched, very destructive, very violent point in time through the Roman uh, control of the world. And then I don't know, it may have even been in the same night that I think it was. Another channel, I'm looking at a travel program, Rick Steves, who's been all over the world, just beautiful um, half hour generally of going in a country and bringing forth the culture and the food and the clothing and the history. So I turned that on, and it was actually in Romania and brought up because much of the capital was rebuilt by Ceausescu, and it was a beautiful historic. There's still old Romania there in the capital, but he dug up and buried a lot of the old culture to build new. Because he took control of the country and was a dictator for many, many years. And he built all of these buildings on the backs of his people, actually, literally, not figuratively, literally starving his people to be able to build his um, castle, if you will. Um, so we have just, and he was overthrown. Finally, after I think 24 years, the people got up in arms. They went to where he was. They drug him out, and actually, they ended up executing him on Christmas Day. But that's a people who said, "Finally, no more. We are not going to be conquered." And here we are with so many different countries, our own being undermined and being taken apart from within based on a model of Hungary's dictator Orban and how he was able to take apart, destroy that democracy, and has been in power for many years at this point. So it is very pertinent. Those of you who unfortunately had boring history teachers, I am so sorry. I also was an avid reader when I was young and read so many different things, including, I guess, one of my favorites was probably historic novels. So please, please, please know that you are part of this history and that you can break this cycle. You can break these patterns, transmute these patterns so that they don't repeat in yourself or in others. Last thing I want to bring up was, again, very interestingly, came home from running errands end of the week, Friday's chill night, and flipped on the TV, and as I do, have it in the background, Star Trek, because there is a wonderful channel called H&I, Heroes and Icons, that play it every single night. All of the Star Trek series, and landed on an episode called Omega Glory. Now, I have had a page since 2016 on Facebook called We the People hyphen I Have a Dream. And it was created around Martin Luther's celebratory day back in 2016, or maybe been the beginning of 2017. And I invited people to come and to put write your dreams, write what you want for our country, our world, your local region, etc. And now I'm inviting everyone to come and post their updates on how we can be involved, what you have found in your local area that you'd like to have help with changing. Um, again, working the democratic system but with much more participation. So again, that's We the People, I Have a Dream. I'll try to get that to you all also, because I think it's really important that we communicate and post, and especially our dreams. And up at the top, I do have that episode of Star Trek, which is Omega Glory. And it's an episode where they go to a planet, and there are two groups. One is an Oriental looking group, and the other is a blonde, white skinned group. And I don't want to give you any spoilers, but suffice to say that they actually ended up going through what we are hoping to avoid, which is a world war. And these two tribes were left. And it's very powerful, this episode, especially towards the end. And I ended up having to really move through a lot of sorrow and grief for the loss that is happening now, the loss that potentially could occur regarding our country, our freedom, our democracy. And I highly recommend it. And interestingly enough, I could not watch the following series, Star Trek Next Generation, most of which I love. But that was an episode, literally, I think it's entitled Devolution. And again, a couple of people come back to the ship that have been away, and something has occurred on the ship, and the crew has devolved back into amphibious or very, very primitive physical things. So that's one I actually can't watch. So I don't believe we are going to reach the point where, so many movies, Mad Max, etc., those type of movies, we've gone through one of those massive uh, world wars, and there's very few of us left. I never liked those movies, and I don't believe that's where we're going. But I do know that no one can sit on the sidelines nowadays in any way. In our personal transformation, I don't think it's enough anymore. I think it is going to need a level of transmutation, transfiguration, and even metamorphosis. So we have all of this here. The ancestors, I'm going to invite you to please bring in your ancestors. We also have the wind. The wind has been very, very powerful in my immediate area this week. And it just feels like these winds of change, sometimes destructive. When high winds come through here, I always do a ceremony to work with the wind, asking not in any way to restrict it or for it to not do what it needs to do, wants to do, for it is also a being with its own soul trajectory, but to be gentle with my trees and all the critters that visit and their homes. So, but the winds of change are here. And I do believe I even posted, it's time just kind of floats by so quickly. Sometime last week, I believe it was, a beautiful movie called The Wind and the Lion, which again is a point in history, in our American history, which actually happened during the time of Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt, who actually fought the robber barons who were attempting to take over our country at that point in time. Very few, very, very, very wealthy men. So, yes, history, wonders of it, the amazing things that we can access and receive guidance and information and help from, be it the mythological gods, be it the stones. Stones are the record keepers. Stones hold memory all over the world. And when we start mining and digging up and crushing those stones, we are oftentimes destroying our own history, um, embedded in those stones. So they are the history or record keepers. So they're going to be part of the mix this evening, along with everything I've said. Anything that I speak about is part and parcel of the alchemical mixture in this container that we're sitting in. And all of those energetics and more will be coming in right now as we do our drop in. And one of the animal teachers that was so very present this weekend, past 4 or 5 days, is Raven. And Raven is a fascinating animal being, just on the physical level. They are brilliant. They do not just learn by copying, but actually make deductions and calculations and can then redesign a way to do something. And on a more energetic and spiritual basis, they represent magic. So again, this idea of magic as I present it, or from the perspective of this work, is that it is something beyond what you could imagine and that can take place in the snap of a finger. That time is not confined, or that magic is not confined by time. On the contrary, it has a very different space-time relationship. And the other being that was very present this week, but so much so all the time, is actually the dragon. Interestingly, because we just recently, it's going so quickly. We just had that was only last week also, wasn't it? The lunar, I'm sorry, the Chinese New Year that follows the lunar calendar. And we are in the year of the snake, the wood snake. I should have grabbed my wood snake from off the shelf over there. It probably will be a part of all sessions from here on. And this month, at least, this week's, whatever it decides to join me. And I invite you right now to just notice anything that was prominent in your world this week. Whether it was an animal teacher, whether it was an aspect of nature, whether it was from your own personal history, whether some family history came up, cultural history of some sort, and just sit. If you can, as you saw me, kind of straighten up a little bit, roll your shoulders back and allow your shoulder blades to just come together a little bit. That straightens your spine so that the energy can run through. I encourage you to have your feet flat on the floor, even over being cross-legged, at least for the beginning, so that we can all, it helps to drop in. And so I invite you to just, a beautiful teacher that I've recently reconnected with and took a month course with on continuum movement. It just emphasized how important a baseline is. So I invite you to do just that right now, and that is to just take a baseline. That doesn't mean analyzing, it doesn't mean, um, labeling, identifying anything in your system. It just means kind of soft attention to your body, your energy field, your emotions, your mind, and just feel whatever there is to feel through that, in that baseline. Whether it's physically, some people are challenged with some breathing stuff this week, sinuses, etc. Anything you notice in your body. Again, just maybe another minute or so for a baseline. Where are you in your system? Does your attention go? What are you noticing in any way? And nothing you need do in that. Just notice. And feel your breath moving however it is, however deep, however shallow, in whatever way. Just breathe your way as you're inviting this beautiful vehicle, this temple, this means by which you can experience as a human from one end of the spectrum to the other, physically, emotionally, energetically, spiritually, mentally. We have such a wide spectrum of sensations, experiences, knowledge. And then, if you feel to, I would invite you to breathe by taking an in breath and extending the exhale. Extending the exhale for much longer than the inhale. And that allows for a very rapid drop into a state of relaxation. And again, kind of brings you into your own system. Nervous system calms and allows you to be in and with yourself. And as you're doing so, again, no work, no effort, no doing. I just invite you to continue to ask and allow, not continue to just at the very start, say to yourself or say out loud, I am asking and I am allowing my body, my energy field, my wider self, which is your soul self, your emotional body, your guides, teachers, masters, angels, all, to join you here and now. You can say to join me here and now, assisting me to drop down and within me. The more you are able to rely on your energy field in your body to drop you down and inside, the more deeply your experience of the transmission of the energetics, whether those that I am directly transmitting or those that are entering into this amazing sacred geometric configuration container, that wherein the exact right energetics for you, the exact right healing frequency combination of frequencies, flavors, forms of energy. For we are each very, very unique. And whether you're listening to this the same day or in future, again, time is not confined, or nor does time in any way confine energy. The exact right energies are here for you now in this moment. For your body, your bones, tissues, organs, glands, systems, circulatory, nervous system, respiratory, and really allow your frontal lobe and your third eye to just go take a nap. For this type of practice is very sensatable, very palpable, very much feeling. very much experiencing you now here internally, which will enable your energy field and your wider self to take you beyond the confines of this physical vehicle. Potentially even dropping into a deep altered state where the energetics can go in even more deeply to your system. So if ever in a practice you feel like you're nodding off or napping or sleeping, please follow your system. It is always about you following your system, your internal lead guiding without having to track, without having to figure out, without having to analyze, without even having to make sense of, but simply experiencing. As the most tailored for you energy streams come into your body, for your body. You might feel some soothing or some calming or some softening, some sinking or some heaviness or even some buzzing life force, vital life force running through you, or other energetics. But there is nothing you need to do. As I always say, allowance has no work, no effort, no goal, no push, no intention, no focus, no do. Just feel, just sensate, just experience. Anything, nothing, everything. It is whatever is right for you at this point in time. And interestingly, the energetics are moving into the spiritual body, which is unusual. Nothing you need, no, nothing you need, conceive of, nothing you need to change. It's your experience wherever you are, whatever you are sensating or not. No need. Just an amazing, beautiful, shimmering, sparkling gold infusion is being shown to me, but that doesn't mean you have the same experience in any way. But I am going to, at this point, ask and invite your entire systems to just drop another level deeper. And again, nothing you need do, nothing you need know. Simply allow. Simply sensate. Simply be in you, with you, as you. Indeed, connection and communication with your wider self, your soul self. That is you guiding and directing you. And your wider self loves you, adores you, celebrates you, wants the absolute highest and best for you. So it will always direct you clearly, benevolently, beneficially. For it is you telling you what, when, where, how. So in this moment, hand over the reins, the steering wheel to that wider self of you. And just feel or sleep or luxuriate. With the utmost trust and faith that you, your wider self, your guides and teachers and masters and angels all are with you, for you, behind you, walk before you, constant. Some with you from the beginning, some presenting themselves for short periods of time with an expertise in some aspect you are seeking. But always and forever accompanied, guided, shown, taught, reminded you of who and what you truly are. The absolute perfection of you. The absolute divinity of you. And your humanness as a physicalized expression of that divinity and your perfection. And you are welcome to sit in this, stay in this energetic. And if you do so, just know that as you follow your own guidance in the process of coming back to a more physical consensus reality, that your system and all you experienced will be integrated and physicalized. And spoke, mentioned a little bit of shape shifting, and I am going to be conducting groups teaching you how to shapeshift, actually. We all have the ability to do so. Sometimes the system is lacking lubrication and um, therefore fluidity to be able to do so. And that fluidity, flexibility, lubrication, movement within your energy field to the structures within your energy field to shapeshift, that occurs automatically as you transmute and transfigure some of those pieces within that I mentioned. So if you're not on the mailing list, please do so you can receive the information about that group. And I'm calling forth those that have worked with me before, those that have had a lot of training in energetics. I'm going to be doing a very advanced creation group. But in all the groups, we are going to be working with creation, your particular way of creating, and how you can utilize that in your life and for what's going on in the world. But we have to do both the energetics, well, all the internal work and the physical outer work that more often than not entails community and gathering with people and um, groups to actually make the changes in your world that you want to. So we are both physical and energetic beings as well as spiritual. So all has to come to the fore right now. For this is the time we've all been working towards, waiting for, looking forward to, hoping would occur despite appearances. So please contact me if you want to do some one-on-one work. I highly recommend it. It's a very accelerated process. Much can happen in one session, and many people walk out of here very different. Most walk out of here very, very different. By out of here, I mean we can also work on Zoom. So wherever you are in the country or the world, and just know that this will be on YouTube, and I encourage you to feel into the energetics again and again. They are very beneficial. We have the many, many, many that I mentioned here tonight. helping us. The situations and the occurrences in the world are also helping us to evolve. And let me just ask the oils if there's anybody who would be jumping out for us this evening. The first oil would be going on your core, which is in the very center of your being, if you of your body, your torso, if you draw a midline and a midline. And they're saying that as you access the wisdom within your own essence, it will enable you to center in who you truly are and your place here on this planet and in the universe. Thus allowing you to magnify the purpose of your heart. Follow the blossoming of your path through your innate information. That's the direct line of communication to your soul. And putting 2 on there. Thus, feeling deep gratitude in your heart. And one last one. So that you may anchor into divine protection. And if you're utilizing the Young Living oils, if you have at home any of these, it's wonderful. We had sage, lavender, an oil blend called Magnify Your Purpose, another single oil called Geranium Bourbon, an oil blend called Gratitude, and finally an oil blend called White Angelica. And I highly recommend, more than recommend, I really, really strongly suggest you start using the oils. Please contact me. I am happy to do a read for you and ask the oils, not me, not my brain, ask the oils which ones are ideal for you at this point in time. And or if you have something specific you want to work on physically or on any other level, they're very, very not only wise, but just amazing beings that continue to have the ability to teach you when you start using them and to assist you and to guide you throughout the day as you have them on. So please, as we get more and more chaos, more and more turmoil, more and more things flying at us, these oils are so pure and so alive that you can feel the companionship of them and their teaching. So I cannot emphasize enough. I haven't done so previously, but I am saying now, please, please, please um, contact me to let them help you. So, yes. And I hope you are able to continue to center in you and yet also be aware of what's going on in your world and make the choices that are needed to be made right now. And I'm offering highly discounted sessions so that we can work one-on-one and in an accelerated way, change some of your history so that it's not controlling your present. As always, it is with the deepest of honor, gratitude, and love for your presence here on this planet. Until next time.